All right, guys, thank you for clicking on the video. So it is not clickbait. A guy went to get his C6 MaxDin installed. It turned into, top-notch debacle, and they called the cops on him. This is a very complex situation. I want all you MaxDin interested people to please watch this to avoid this issue, and hopefully I can clarify things for any installers that watch this. So stick around. You're watching Night Drive TV.
I always wanted to build fast cars, so self-taught I started with engine swaps, composites in my apartment to multiple shops, tuning, fabrication, and more. 10 years later, the big time, SEMA, Speed TV, I climbed from nothing, but I lost it all. This is my new ride, Night Drive TV. When failure is not an option, us car guys keep banging the gears of life.
So it was an interesting situation. You guys may have seen the C6 Corvette MaxDin was the first unit that we released here at Knightdrivetv, and you've watched on the channel as we develop these very much in-house in the United States. Obviously, we use overseas partners for this because, I mean, let's be real, the phone you're watching this on or the TV is made overseas. That's the way things are. But in terms of these vehicles, C6 Corvettes, C5 Corvettes, XLRs, things like that, these are not vehicles that exist overseas very much, and especially in China. So a lot of the development had to be done here in order to get all the specific functions and integrations. If you're not familiar with the MaxDin kind of operates the entire system. It replaces everything in the dash. In a C6's case, you remove the radio, the HVAC module, and the ashtray and the lighter. It leaves somewhat of a hole in the console, and then in you put this unit, which is designed to a level of OEM quality. It's all injection molded, has button controls for some of your quick reference stuff, but uses an interface that interacts with the CAN bus of the car and is your audio, HVAC, everything like that. And so these systems, as I've shown many times in many videos, are plug and play. They are designed specifically for the car that they are going in. And that's unlike most units in the market because Kenwoods, Alpines, all your typical double DINs, these have always existed to use adapters made by companies that basically adapt the configuration of the radio to interact with the plug configuration and the wiring of the car that they're going in. Additionally, as cars have had steering wheel controls and other things, more and more adapters have come to the market to allow these radios to interact. Now, additionally, units like this have existed on the market for several years. With newer vehicles that started to come with screens from the factory and very much have this new, more modern era entire dash interface. You know, old cars you used to be able to pull out your factory radio, put in an aftermarket. Newer vehicles have very complex dash designs. They have screens already from the factory. In replacing those, companies have jumped into those markets to make bigger screens and basically better interfaces and things like that. So the issue that I'm going to be highlighting here is why are professional radio installations shops, people that will highlight to you over and over again that they've been doing this for 20 years, why are they turning this into a major debacle? It's happened to several of my customers, one in Canada namely, that had an installer travel to him for $800 or $900, was cutting wires, was doing all kind of crazy things. And it was really lost on me. Why is this person doing this? These units are designed, like I said, for the specific car that they go in. And these are literally plug and play. They're a very quick installation. It will take you more time to get the plastics out and remove the OEM stuff than it will be to get this powered on and operating and functioning fully. And when I say fully, I mean steering wheel controls, HVAC, radio. You're literally plugging this in as if it's a GM part. And so, you know, the reason I have this all laid out here is to explain to you that any of the units that I am currently offering, they were developed here in Las Vegas, and I always have video of that. So when you see on the YouTube channel me working with the engineers, working directly here and doing testing, that will let you know that that's why these are different than the things that you currently can find on Amazon or whatever the aftermarket units may be. These were built to a higher standard. They have very powerful hardware on board. They are built by one of the best companies in the entire industry doing this, and the company also makes units for OEM manufacturers, so they're held to a very high standard. The C5, as you can see here, I have the kind of three-step iterations. There are more prototypes, but when we start over on the right, this was the initial first iteration, and we refined the way that it mounted to the dash, and then obviously you can see multiple units, these being 3D printed in nylon, and then this one actually having the ABS injection mold done, all the buttons integrated. We have volume on the console of this one because C5 doesn't have steering wheel controls. Here you can see in the XLR. The XLR was kind of a hybrid, I think, of technology and electronics in GM during C5 and C6. So it typically did come with a larger kind of navigation screen, a CD player, integrated HVAC, and these modules go bad. And you can see over here, this is a prototype. This is now the third prototype that we have put together, and there's some issues with a split bus system in this car. But again, the reason I'm telling you all this is because these go through extensive development by me, by my partner company, to plug right into your car. So let's get to exactly what happened in this incident. So a customer had received a C6 MaxDin unit. He found what, honestly, per my searching, is a very reputable brand, a very reputable installation shop that seemingly is probably fairly capable at doing what they're doing. And like I said, I don't think it's incompetent shops that are leading to these problems. Quite honestly, I think I will often say, having owned automotive shops where I built turbo systems and I had a chassis dyno, I tuned engine management, I actually wasn't a radio and light guy, I was more of a power guy. I will tell you that just because the owner of a place has a wide array of expertise, once you hire help and you rely on that help, sometimes that's where things can get interesting. You may not be experiencing the full experience, I should say, of the 20, 25 year tenure of that owner in the industry versus maybe somebody he has installing that's only been doing it for 2 years. So he did choose a good shop and reputable, went to them. They basically quoted him $400 to install it. Now, I will tell you that my first concern with this is that installation shops, when you're bringing them parts and you're bringing them everything from your car in boxes, you're not allowing the shop to make much money, namely because they're not selling you any product that they have any leverage on. So you're essentially just asking them, I need your time and expertise only, and I need you to install this product. Now, the other issue that you run into is the installation shop then is not familiar with this unit. They've never done anything like this, but they think they have. And that is where the problem kind of starts. They feel like, we've seen these before. We've seen the Lynxwells or we've seen the Phoenixes. And much like a laptop, you can sit two laptops next to each other. I could show you one that's $400 and I could show you one that's $7,000. They look kind of the same. They both have keyboards, they both have screens, but that does not mean that they are the same. And it does not mean that the software on board is the same. It does not mean that they interact with you, the user, the same. But this becomes a generalization a lot of times, and these install shops just kind of run away with the situation. The customer is kind of submissive in this role of seeking their expertise, and with that expertise is where I feel like the runaway often happens. So in this case, the harness that comes with this is this big. This is literally it. This is what you have to do to install the MaxDin today. You take this plug like this, you click it together like that. You plug this into the car, you plug this into the back of the unit, and you plug this into the back of the unit. Plug in your 3 HVAC plugs, and it works. As fast as I said it is how long it takes. It takes much longer to take the plastic off the console and take all the OEM stuff out, like I said, than it does to get this powered up. Obviously, your rear camera, you're going to have to run your couple wires. It taps in, but this is as simple as it gets. And so this customer, he gets quoted $400. He goes to the shop, he drops things off, and he starts calling me about midday saying that they're telling me it sounds really bad. The audio's terrible, doesn't work, and it's a mess. So did at least interact with the customer enough to realize that he was in a kind of a particularly emergent situation. So I was able to contact him directly and talk to him, and he said, yeah, they had it, and they're speaking pretty negatively against it, and they're saying it doesn't sound good, it's junk, things like that. So I immediately started telling him, look, I've seen this before. I'm not going to say 100% emphatically that, during the shipping process, it didn't get jarred quite hard or something. I said, was your box damaged? Was there any indicator that anything could be wrong? Now, again, these are professionally built. These are not hand built. These are like the PCBs are machine built. These are tested multiple times. It's very unlikely that you will get one out of the box with any issues. So I was very resistant to the idea that the unit was the problem. But unfortunately, as a customer, you get trapped in between expertise, and you're here. You've got me on one side, you got the shop on the other side, and you're wondering, who do I listen to? Well, again, the shop, I will point out, despite being a very professional shop, is still a first-time installer. They have never installed one of these. Had they, it would have taken minutes and it would be over with. But because they too are learning on your dime, essentially they should be calling me asking for guidance, and instead they were kind of making some very fact-based statements that, these aren't working, it's no good, et cetera, et cetera. So through talking to the customer, I said, look, you have to push back. I'm telling you, they're doing something wrong. Something is going to be responsible for this. I highly doubt that this is going to be the issue, that the unit is the problem. I'm quite certain their installation is the problem. Well, unfortunately, professionals don't like to hear from their customers that you don't know what you're doing. And this kind of lights the fire. And I've seen this happen before. It's a very tricky spot for me to be in, and it's probably a more tricky spot for you to be in. But essentially, it did light the fire. When he called me back, the installer was in the background. A couple guys were in the background, and I could hear shouts and screams, and we saw what you said, and we know what you were saying about us, and blah, blah, blah. Your unit's junk. It's the biggest piece of crap. I could take something out of a Tesla and wire it in minutes. Your unit is garbage, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to talk back and say, look, can I understand what the install looks like? Can I just be clear? And they were already upset to the point that they were at a 9 out of 10. I'm trying to explain to them what I think the issue is, and just be clear on where have you gone wrong here, because clearly something is wrong. The one issue is that the new units of the C6 were slightly updated for the year 2025, and it eliminated a red box that we used to have. And I thought that might be the issue, is they were having some type of misunderstanding that the red box was no longer a part of the installation, that literally all harnesses just click this together as if it's a non-Bose, and your settings are now internal. I couldn't really get that far because of the arguing that was going on. One person was very upset in the background. And again, this costs everybody time. It costs everybody money. And so I'm going back and forth. Well, suddenly I hear who sounds to be maybe a boss or the owner kind of pipe up and try to eliminate all the chaos that was going on in the building and say, hey, let me just tell you what's going on, and so I can understand. He goes on to explain to me these modules. We have this adapter, blah, 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 this type of adapter, and then we have this adapter for the steering wheel, and we have this, and this. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. My unit ships with that right there. So immediately I'm like, I don't know what adapters you're speaking about, but there are no adapters. You literally bolt this thing in and plug it into the car, the OEM plugs. I said, if you have anything aftermarket in between the car and this unit, you've gone wrong somewhere. And there's no reason to do that, because nowhere does it indicate you need any of that. So I can kind of hear that he was hesitating at that point, as if something was registering on his end. Okay. So this is after we had already gone through the idea, okay, guys, if you want to be right, send it back. I will test it. I told the customer, I'm going to give you a return label, ship this back to me. I advised him via text, run. And only because once the situation had descended to this level, I thought it's bad for the customer to continue. I think there's going to be a lot of resistance. I do concern myself with intentional damage. I have experienced that one time to where the shop had trapped themselves into kind of a corner, and they had cut some wires. They had done some things that had real evidence of them tampering with it. And when I did receive it, it was dead. So I've seen that happen before, and I kind of advised them, look, just if you can just get the unit and get your car out of there, I would say that's probably your best course. He texted me back, it's okay, I'm gonna handle it. So, I was just gonna go with their assessment. Sure, send it back, we'll test it, I'll send it back to the customer. He can find somewhere else to go, and we can make it cleared up. But that's not what happened. And that's why I think things kind of devolved a bit more. So he texted me that they were continuing. Now, they were emphatic that the audio did not work, that it was terrible. They were saying it wouldn't even turn on. Then on the phone, they were saying it would turn on, but the audio wouldn't work, but the HVAC would work. Lo and behold, some hours later, the customer messaged me, installation is fine, unit working fine, my car and everything is fine, and they called the police on me. So, now, factually, he did not elaborate, and I did ask him, why were the police called? What led to this? He didn't elaborate, and so, I'm going to say, honestly, I don't know what happened, but what I can say as a former shop owner and having been in situations, what I suspect is there became a conflict over what was owed at the end of the install. And so I think from the customer's perspective, look, what you've put me through, I came to you expecting a level of expertise and professionalism, and this is what I got. And the question, I think, becomes, what is he willing to pay for at that point? As a shop owner, I could probably look at it a couple ways and say, look, factually, we did end up with a successful install. It wasn't pretty. Maybe we need to make some concessions, but we're probably, number one, never going to see this customer again. And number two, we didn't even sell them anything. They brought their parts to us and off they go. So I'm trying to, understand and empathize with the shop. I'm not saying the shop is wrong. And to some degree, I thought about this situation quite a bit. And I know that, there's an upside and a downside to dealing with a company like me who is out here on kind of his own, developing very complex products. Is you're not going to get what you get with Kenwood or Alpine. You pull one of these units out of the box, Kenwood's going to have a stack of documentation of all these text manuals and all these guide books and things, because they have teams of people. You're in charge of the document group, and you and your 8 assistants can write out the manuals for these. That is where I fall short, quite honestly. I use the group, I use the YouTube channel. So the fact is I use these videos and things like this to explain basically how simple this installation really is. And I have to admit, my only thinking when it comes to the situation with the installation shops are, I interact with these types of things all the time, and I just find it so self-explanatory that I don't need much guidance. And I can understand when customers need guidance, and people who have never done installations like this. It's totally understandable. From a professional radio shop's perspective, though, I would think that they could assess and look at these and, quite honestly, make them work pretty easily. So in the end, I think it was a situation that all these situations impact me in a way that I think, what can I do to improve and avoid this? I could have probably helped the customer with more documentation. Maybe it would have never happened. So it's just things I have to think about and try to put as much energy into eliminating all problems for customers like you who are out there trying to get your unit installed and get it installed smoothly and peacefully. So that being said, guys, I hope you guys can understand that this is something that is difficult, and going through this and developing these units and doing it for cars that I think have a healthy aftermarket, but at the same time, things and products like this are very limited. I will say it is difficult, and it's risky for me as just a one-man show essentially when it comes to the development side of things for this company. But I think the products are of very high quality. I stand by them, and I push to make them as good as I can, obviously while working with partners and with engineers in order to give you a product that I hope has value. Unfortunately, I will add in that, like I said, these cars only exist in this country, and if you see anyone selling these units, C6, C5 especially, you get into XLR, these units are not legitimate. They will have likely acquired one of our units, taken some amount of information, obviously, or took one of the entire units and shipped it over to a competitor for copy. So, to those of you out in the Corvette community, the XLR, which I think we are going to manage to complete, even though it was highly complex to do so, I would just like you guys to understand that Knightdrivetv is the one that developed these. We were the leader, and we were the ones that pushed forward into this market and did the work to do so. So you see the evidence of that on this channel, and I show you guys with a lot of transparency that actually happening. And you can see people working here coming from overseas, and that is indicating to me somebody is in a detection zone for my cameras. It's like a digital security dog that barks on my phone, gets my attention. But like I said, this is a real situation, right? So I just want to let everybody know that when you see these units on the market for Corvette, they have to come from Knightdrivetv, or something nefarious has happened. So that's where I stand on that issue. And so I hope you guys, can appreciate that things are never 100% perfect, but I am trying to make them as good as I can. I kind of try to figure out what, the customer needs to experience, and feel like I'm working my way back a little bit when it comes to certain things, documentation, things like that. But we do have the Knightdrivetv MaxDin support group. These are very plug and play, very usable. The interfaces, I think if you play with them enough, you can figure it out. But that being said, guys, that's it for the video. I hope this can help you if you do acquire one of these MaxDins, to be prepared and to just communicate with your radio installer or your installation shop, and just let them know this is super simple. No adapters are needed. If you have any questions or issues, obviously you can contact Knightdrivetv directly. My phone number is on the website. I try to get to people as much as I can. And so, again, though, I install these with ease, and I think any professional shop should have absolutely no issue doing the same. So that's it, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.